Good morning. Where is everybody? There's 2 people on devotions. Wake up. We have company. I knew she was going to do that.
The queen.
Right. Yeah. I can't get us both on camera.
That's all right.
All right. You want to look at me anyway. I look better. Good morning, girls. Happy Friday. All right. Oh, I have a feeling this is going to be a long reading. These temples. Not too bad. All right. All right. Everybody says hi, Mama Joyful. All right. Solomon built his palace. 1 Kings 7, 1 through 12. Solomon also built a palace for himself, and it took him 13 years to complete the construction. One of Solomon's buildings was called the Palace of the Forest of Lebanon. It was 150 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. There were 4 rows of cedar pillars and great cedar beams that rested on the pillars. The hall had a cedar roof. Above the beams on the pillar were 45 side rooms, arranged in 3 tiers of 15 each. On each end of the hall, there were 3 rows of windows facing each other. All the doorways and doorposts had rectangular frames and were arranged in sets of 3 facing each other. Solomon also built the Hall of Pillars, which was 75 feet long and 45 feet wide. There was a porch in front, along with a canopy supported by the pillars. Solomon also built the throne room, known as the Hall of Justice, where he sat to hear legal matters. It was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. Solomon's living quarters surrounded a courtyard behind this hall, and they were constructed the same way. He also built similar living quarters for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. From the foundation to the eaves, all these buildings were built exactly, there's no word there, were built from huge blocks of high quality stone cut with saws and trimmed to exact measure on all sides. Some of the huge foundation stones were 15 feet long and some were 12 feet long. The blocks of high quality stone used in the walls were also cut to measure. The cedar beams were also used. The walls of the great courtyard were built so there was 1 layer of cedar beams between every 3 layers of finished stone, just like the walls of the inner courtyard of the Lord's temple with its entry room. Furnishings for the temple, 1 Kings 7, 13 through 51. King Solomon then asked for a man named Huram to come to Tyre. He was half Israelite, since his mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father had been a craftsman in bronze from Tyre. Huram was extremely skillful and talented in any work in bronze, and he came to do all the metalwork for King Solomon. Huram cast 2 bronze pillars, each 27 feet tall and 18 feet in circumference. For the tops of the pillars, he cast bronze capitals, each 7.5 feet tall. Each capital was decorated with 7 sets of latticework and interwoven chains. He also encircled the latticework with 2 rows of pomegranates to decorate the capitals over the pillars. The capitals on the columns inside the entry room were shaped like water lilies, and they were 6 feet tall. The capitals on the 2 pillars had 200 pomegranates in 2 rows around them, beside the rounded surface next to the latticework. Huram set the pillars at the entrance of the temple, one toward the south and one toward the north. He named the one on the south Jachin, and the one... Ouch! Stop! Gosh. And the one on the north Boaz. The capitals on the pillars were shaped like water lilies, and so the work on the pillars was finished. Then Huram cast a great round basin, 15 feet across from rim to rim, called the sea. It was 7.5 feet deep and about 45 feet in circumference. It was encircled just below its rims by 2 rows of decorative gourds. There were about 6 gourds per foot all the way around, and they were cast as part of the basin. The sea was placed on a base of 12 bronze oxen, all facing outward. 3 faced north and 3 faced west, 3 faced south and 3 faced east, and the sea rested on them. The walls of the sea were about 3 inches thick, and its rim flared out like a cup and resembled a water lily blossom. It could hold about 11,000 gallons of water. Huram also made 10 bronze water carts, each 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4.5 feet tall. They were constructed with side panels braced with crossbars. Both the panels and the crossbars were decorated with carved lions, oxen, and cherubim. Above and below the lions were the wreath decorations. Each of these carts had 4 bronze wheels and bronze axles. They were supporting posts for the bronze basins at the corner of the carts. These supports were decorated on each side with carvings of wreaths. The top of each cart had a rounded frame for the basin. It projected 1.5 feet above the cart's top like a round pedestal, and its opening was 2.5 feet across. It was decorated on the outside with carvings of wreaths. The panels of the carts were square and not round. Under the panels were 4 wheels that were connected to the axles that had been cast as one unit with the cart. The wheels were 2.25 feet in diameter and were similar to chariot wheels. The axle, spokes, rims, and hubs were all cast from molten bronze. There were handles at each of the 4 corners of the carts, and these too were cast as one unit with the cart. Around the top of each cart was a rim 9 inches wide. The corner supports and its side panels were cast as one unit with the cart. Carvings of cherubim, lions, and palm trees were decorated the panels and corner supports wherever there was room, and there were wreaths all around. All 10 water carts were the same size and were made alike, for each was cast from the same mold. Huram also made 10 small bronze basins, one for each cart. Each basin was 6 feet across and could hold 220 gallons of water. He set 5 water carts on the south side of the temple and 5 on the north side. The great bronze basin was called the Sea and was placed near the southeast corner of the temple. He also made the necessary wash basins, shovels, and bowls. So at last Huram completed everything King Solomon had assigned to him to make for the temple of the Lord. The 2 pillars, the 2 bowl-shaped capitals on top of the pillars, the 2 networks of interwoven chains that decorated the capitals, the 400 pomegranates that hung from the chains on the capitals, 2 rows of pomegranates for each of the chain networks that decorated the capitals on top of the pillars, the 10 water carts holding the 10 basins, the sea and the 12 oxen under it, the ash buckets, the shovels, and the bowls. Huram made all these things of burnished bronze for the temple of the Lord, just as King Solomon had directed. The king had them cast in clay molds in the Jordan Valley between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon did not weigh all these things because there were so many. The weight of the bronze could not be measured. Solomon also made all the furnishings of the temple of the Lord: the gold altar, the gold table for the bread of presence, the lampstand of solid gold, 5 on the south and 5 on the north. In front of the most holy place, the flower decorations, lamps, and tongs of gold, the small bowls, lamp snuffers, bowls, ladles, and incense burners, all of solid gold. The doors for the entrance of the most holy place and the main room of the temple with their fronts overlaid with gold. So King Solomon finished all of his work on the temple of the Lord. Then he brought all the gifts his father David had dedicated, the silver, the gold, the various articles, and he stored them in the treasuries of the Lord's temple. 2 Chronicles 3:15 through 4:22. For the front of the temple, he made 2 pillars that were 27.5 feet tall, each topped by a capital, extending upward another 7.5 feet. He made he made a network of interwoven chains and used them to decorate the tops of the pillars. He also made 100 decorative pomegranates and attached them to the chains. Then he set up the 2 pillars at the entrance of the temple, one to the south of the entrance and one to the north. He named the one on the south Jachin and the one on the north Boaz. Solomon also made a bronze altar 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 15 feet high. Then he cast a great round basin, 15 feet across from rim to rim, called the Sea. It was 7.5 feet deep and about 45 feet in circumference. It was encircled just below its rim by the 2 rows of figures that resembled oxen. There were about 6 oxen per foot all the way around, and they were cast as part of the basin. The Sea was placed on a base of 12 bronze oxen, all faced outward. 3 faced north, 3 faced west, 3 faced south, and 3 faced east, and the Sea rested on them. The walls of the Sea were about 3 inches thick, and its rim flared out like a cup and resembled a water lily blossom. It could hold about 16,500 gallons of water. He also made 10 smaller basins for washing the utensils for the burnt offerings. He set 5 on the south side and 5 on the north, but the priests washed themselves in the Sea. He then cast 10 gold lampstands according to the specifications that had been given, and he put them in the temple. 5 were placed against the south wall, and 5 were placed against the north wall. He also built 10 tables and placed them in the temple, 5 along the south wall and 5 along the north wall. Then he molded 100 gold basins. He then built a courtyard for the priests and also a large outer courtyard. He made the doors for the courtyard entrances and overlaid them with bronze. The great bronze basin called the sea was placed near the southeast corner of the temple. Hiram Abi also made the necessary wash basins, shovels, and bowls. So at last, Hiram Abi completed everything King Solomon had assigned to him for making the temple of God. The two pillars, the two bowl-shaped capitals on top of the pillars, the two networks of interwoven chains that decorated the capitals, the 400 pomegranates that hung from the chains on the capitals, two rows of pomegranates for each of the chain networks that decorated the capitals on top of the pillars, the water carts holding the basins, the sea and the 12 oxen under it, the ash buckets, the shovels, the meat hooks, and all related articles. Hiram Abi made all these things of burnished bronze for the temple of the Lord, just as King Solomon had directed. Eyes burning for some reason. The king had them cast in clay molds in the Jordan Valley between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon used such great quantities of bronze that its weight could not be determined. Solomon also made all the furnishings of the temple of God. The gold altar, the table for the bread of presence, the lampstand and their lamps of gold to burn in front of the most holy place as prescribed, the flower decorations, lamps, and tongs, all the purest gold, the lamp snuffers, bowls, ladles, and incense burners, all of solid gold, the doors for the entrances in the most holy place, and the main room of the temple overlaid with gold. I have the hardest time reading that section. It's like reading a manual for putting together furniture.
Yeah,
It's just tough to read. Tough
and
read.
you don't remember it 2 seconds after you read it.
It's a tough
Please
read. All right. On to our book. Clearly, courage was in short supply in the disciples' little vessel, which makes it all the more ironic that the phrase fear not, or its equivalent, shows up in the Bible 365 times. That works out to one instance for every day of the year. It's a lot easier, though, to read all those citations against fear than it is to actually stop being frightened. Does becoming less afraid really work like that? Can we, through a force of will, remove our own fear like we remove gluten from our diets? The anxiety I felt in the darkness of my tent, stranded on an island in the Lake of the Woods with a bunch of dependent high school students, was a very real thing. If someone had chosen that moment to say, "Hey, don't be afraid," it's not as if my next thought would have been, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Since you've told me not to be afraid, I'm not totally worried anymore." Really? I don't think it works that way. Jesus' question, "Why are you so afraid?" seems odd on its very face. Of course they were afraid. Who wouldn't be? Crisis moments are part of everyone's life. An endless variety of upheavals can buffet us sooner or later. And sooner or later, fear finds its way into our boat. Once there, it strips away all our bravado and confidence and all our certainties. Maybe we're not going to get what we need or what we want or need. Something, or worse yet, someone we love is about to be taken away. No wonder the disciples were so troubled. They were struggling to survive, and where was Jesus? Napping on a cushion. A popular opinion among biblical commentators is that Jesus' delay in taking action was all about his demonstrating complete confidence in his Father's care. Well, isn't that nice? I'm sorry, but that explanation just doesn't cut it for me. If I'm in the boat, I want Jesus awake and active. I think that puts me squarely on the side of the disciples. The fact that Jesus is confident enough to sleep through it is all pretty cold comfort when I'm just trying to survive. We like to think we know what Jesus should do and what he should when he should do it. We can describe just how we want things in life to work out. And when Jesus doesn't make it happen, things we believe we need and deserve, things that would make us happy or banish fear or put us back in control of our little boat, we wonder why he's not doing his job. We start to suspect that maybe Jesus doesn't care enough to calm the storm. If, however, you find yourself wondering why Jesus is sleeping while you're panicking, whose response to the situation is the problem? The disciples were so upset that Jesus was asleep, they failed to recognize that he never left them. He was riding out the storm with them. At no point did Jesus say, "Nope, I'm out of here. This rocking boat stuff is disturbing my sleep, so you boys are on your own. I'll catch up with you later." Jesus' presence with us and his love for us simply cannot be judged on the basis of how things appear or how they feel. I love this book.
It's good.
It's so good.
I've been reading it every morning.
It's so
And I
good.
brought it with me. I figured I'd finish it on the plane.
You're supposed to be reading it with us.
Well, yeah, but I don't do this every morning. Or I have to do it later in the
Shows
day.
how much you care.
Yeah, I know. Where'd you get this? I'd like to get this.
Oh no, for sure, Susan. Petco. I don't know. A pet store. It's a Kong.
They would like it.
Okay. All right. Well, here's Mama Joyful if you logged in late.
Good morning.
Papa Joyful's puttering around. Now say hi. Well, you get to anyway. Say hi.
Hi. Bye.
All right, girls. Let's go ahead and end in prayer. God our Father, thank you for this day and our time together. Thank you for loving us the way you do. Thank you for this book and the reminder that you are right there, whether the outcome is what we hope for or not. You're walking beside us through all of it. God, I lift up Barb to you this morning with this new cancer diagnosis and just ask for your peace to surround her today. Ask for strength, courage, and provision. I ask for clarity for the doctors. But most of all, today, I ask for peace to fill her heart. God, as we go through this day, help us to honor you with everything we say and we do, everything we eat and choose not to eat, everything we speak and not speak. I just pray that we will glorify you with everything we do in your precious name. Amen. All right, girls. Yay, Faith. Final treatment this morning. So exciting. So exciting. All right, girls. I love you all. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you all back tomorrow. We're going to go work out, Mama Joyful and I, and then we're going to go eat breakfast. All right. Love you, girls. Bye.